Hi guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to look at perhaps one of the biggest, but yet most obvious admissions by a leading Brexiteer that things have gone tits up. It seems to me, at least, that though the blame game is still firing on all cylinders, the realization that the UK was completely out-negotiated, not because of unfair treatment, but because of fair and equal recognition of how little the EU depends on the UK trade and how much larger the UK international food chains depended on the EU. Okay? By the way, I want to say here, I've been advised by many subscribers to mention how important it is to ask that you subscribe and, if possible, share these videos with your friends and colleagues. And I do appreciate the support we've received so far. But for this video, let's go. Now, on Sunday, on the Sunday Mail, it called for, and I'm quoting here, "Let's unite with the EU to crush the curse of border bureaucracy." Now, I know that this comment is for the mainstream media, kind of similar to us accepting that the world is flat after all, especially as the call came from a leading Brexiteer. Okay? Yes, the former Conservative MP and current chairman of Marks and Sparks, Archie Norman, did exactly that, and he gave this advice, and it's logical. However, at the same time, the numpty also said on the very same day, and I'm quoting him here again, "The EU's fandango bureaucracy will hurt the makers of French cheese and Spanish chorizo as much as it hurts us." Right, okay. I think there's a couple of things we have to be said here from the very outset. A, UK farmers do not make Spanish chorizo. B, UK farmers do not make French cheese. And C, the total amount of imports from France and Spain on that type of cheese doesn't really amount to a hill of beans. Okay, but I'll tell you something that is interesting and definitely more important to get into our heads, okay? And it's that when people such as Archie take their stupid heads out of their backside, they'll see that the imports of EU cheese products to the UK fell by just 16% or 12%. But the imports of non-EU cheese rose by a whopping 66%. Okay? So this is already bad news for the UK farming industry. But worse than that, UK exports to the EU fell by 30%. And non-EU exports only rose by 16%, but that was 16% of a very small baseline, which accounted for just 1/5 of total exports. So all in all, it's not a pretty picture. It's a very bad picture. Now, again, just as we've discussed in previous videos, this is not even half the story. The remaining part of this story is what should really concern all of us. And it goes like this. Despite popular opinion within the Brexit voters, the EU are not stupid. They're relatively smart. They can also access the same data that we could. They can see that the UK is attempting to ramp up imports from outside the EU. They know for sure that UK companies are doing this to make more profit. They also know for 100% sure that these products are not just limited to UK consumption, and food processors will use those imports in their products that they intend to export. They know that the food producers will use those products in goods to be exported to the EU. Why? Because that's the nearest and that's the biggest market there is for such products. Southeast Asia doesn't eat a whole lot of cheese, guys. It's mostly in Europe and Western countries. All right? Now, do you think the EU farmers and food processors are going to take that? They're just going to accept it. This single act demonstrates immediately and clearly that the EU must enforce rules of origin. To do otherwise would be a dereliction of their duty of care to their voters, to their farmers, to their industries, okay? But I'd like to go back here, if I may, to Mr. Archie Norman. In my honest opinion, this guy is a joke. He's a charlatan. And more importantly, he is also one of the main people that chose to throw the voters under the Brexit bus. And the Mail on Sunday can be placed in exactly the same category. I don't see the difference between the two of them. You see, Archie Norman was appointed by the UK government to the board of BEIS, which stands for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. And he was appointed as a non-executive director and was also deputy chairman of the board, from which he scooped £125,000 plus all his expenses. Now, his primary role in that job was to advise the negotiating teams in the Brexit camp. And that, ladies and gentlemen, included the withdrawal agreement. Of course, the 125 grand is tiny when compared to the 1.7 million he received in just July from a controversial company called Bridgepoint Finance, with a salary that also carries a price tag of 200 grand per year. It also excludes the package he receives from Marks and Sparks, but maybe he's worth every penny of his fees. He could well be. Maybe this former MP is that good, but given that he prostitutes himself in the Daily Mail as a columnist, my instinct tells me that he's purely pandering to populist numpties. And here's why. Over the last few days, I asked a good pal of mine to take some photographs of empty shelves in Marks and Sparks in Donegal Place in Belfast. And guess what? He couldn't find any. He did notice that a few of their own brand products were missing, but found that most, if not all, of the other brands were fully stocked, and he had no difficulty. That was in Northern Ireland, okay? But let's forget about him for the moment and have a reality check. Based on the official data, the UK is bringing in more goods from outside the EU, and manufacturers are using those goods in their processing and delivering them when they can find haulage drivers. Now, of that, there isn't any doubt. That's a fact. You can't deny that. What is also true, and what is also without any doubt, is that everybody with a brain knew this would happen. The EU border control officers, okay, could see the writing on the wall before Brexit, let alone the withdrawal agreement. And the national audit officers confirmed this and also realised that the worst fears were about to befall them. The EU, on the other hand, they were well used to it because they've been operating with third countries for 40 years. They didn't have to do much. So against the backdrop of such ineptitude that clearly demonstrated the chaotic fashion of software development for government departments, how in the hell did this numpty Archie Norman think this was going to end? What did he think was going to happen? He knew, as deputy chairman of the BEIS, along with being CEO of Marks and Sparks, how much paperwork and trade barriers the UK would create after Brexit. He knew this, he advocated this, and now he's complaining about it and calls for cooperation. Did he do that in Singapore? Did he do it in Malaysia? Did he do it in Thailand? Or did he know what they would tell him? Because they just tell him to sod off and grow up. Leaving all of that aside, I would like to ask him one question. Give me a single benefit for the EU to cooperate with the UK when they have clear evidence, no doubt about it, that UK manufacturers are attempting to usurp EU manufacturers. Can he point out the gain for the EU? Or maybe is it that he's doing what he has clearly always done, and that is to maintain his expedition to find nirvana for himself and to hell with everybody else? There are three things I take from this article. One is that the penny has dropped and the mainstream media are beginning to recognize something has to be done. Okay? Two, the mainstream media are still hedging their bets by trying to convince the voters that a new approach under a new leader will solve the problem. And three, finally, that the mainstream media are still clinging on to the ridiculous notion that the EU needs the UK more than the UK needs the EU. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the flip side. You take care. Thank you.